Right. Next, we'll be looking at how big data is helping in an industry where uptime is a critical business metric. Our next speaker is Mihail Musat, Director of Technical Operations at Bigstep. He is a professional with more than 15 years of experience in various IT areas, an experienced trainer, author, and promoter. Today, Mihail will show us how to properly collect and work with data from several countries. We'll be looking at operational workflows, integrations, and tools that contribute on above the average SLA and customer satisfaction score. Mihail, welcome.
Thank you. Slide-urile mele ar trebui să fie aici. Okay. Hey everybody, is it good how I'm standing here? Okay, thanks. So first of all, it's nice to be here again in a conference room, even though we don't really have participants in the room per se, only a few people. But you know, the feeling of actually being in a room and presenting something, it's way different than being just in front of a screen at home. So, hi everybody. Yes, my name is Mihail, and I'm from Bigstep. So, as said, we are a company offering cloud services, and what is really important in this industry is the uptime. Everybody wants their services, which are hosted with us, to have 100% uptime. And we all know what are the consequences when that doesn't happen. A recent example is, you know, from Facebook. I suppose that most of you, if not all of you, have been impacted by it. Even though there are many estimates about, you know, what was the total loss of the company, if we look only at their stocks, we're talking about 100 million. But there are other billion estimates, like 10 billions or something like that. If you look also at the image capital and potential business loss and so many other things to consider. So, in fact, companies want zero downtime. Now, let's see, you know, what tools your business could own online, or, you know, tools that depends upon that are hosted in such environments as ours, or, you know, hosted your on-premise in your company. You know, like intranet tools, you know, the company website, and blog, of course, ads platforms, because nowadays, you know, everybody promotes their business online, chat and email, BI tools, especially, you know, speaking about today, and other ERP suite tools. So imagine that every minute of downtime, every second of downtime, translates into these tools and many others not being available for you to do your job. So, you know, again, is downtime 100% avoidable? You know, that's the premise. That's the question that we start, you know, our ecosystem from. And I'll unveil this ecosystem layer by layer in the next slides. So we've seen Facebook being down recently. Now in 2020, Gmail has been down as well, again for 6 hours. It's a coincidence, of course. But the idea is that in business such as ours, we need to understand that 100% uptime, it's actually not possible. But then what do we do to get as close as possible to it? So we try to be realistic that 100% is not achievable, but it is achievable to be as close as possible to that. But in order to achieve that, we need to take a lot of measures, technically and big data-wise as well. So, okay, let's see, which are some of the key metrics that a business like ours looks for. And of course, any customer of such business, being ours or any other hosting provider or cloud provider, needs to present to their customers. But before that, we can look to understand where things can go wrong from the end user, the smartphone or the laptop or the workstation that you're doing your job from, till the last layers of any online application. And the answer is that anything can go wrong, right? So your laptop, can have problems. Your internet connectivity at home can have problems. The internet in your city can have problems, and so on and so forth. But we are trying to focus only on this gray area, the hosting provider area, and what can we actually do here. And because in this context, in this diagram, the hosting provider covers a lot of layers, we're going to focus more specifically on the hardware part. We'll see in the following slides. We have several applications where we use big data to process the data, but today we won't be able to cover all of them. So, as I said, it's important for the customers that we have to understand, what actually uptime means, what and why a backup is important, and what are these terms, RPO and RTO. So basically, as I said, failure is unavoidable, so it's no matter what you do, there will be moments when a system will go down. What is important is to know that when that happens, as a business, there is a very clear mechanism that comes in place. And that's, first of all, it's the backup. So due to the backup, we are able for our customers to go back in time and to actually access the last functional piece of information and system. And then the soon we recover, that recovery time objective is actually smaller. So now let's see how we are able to detect as soon as possible when a failure happens. And this is where our ecosystem starts. So, as I said, we have several layers of application. We have the networking layer, we have the servers layer, we have the storages layer, and of course we have multiple data centers. So in this case, it's a data series that I've chose only from the last 90 days, from a small pool of servers that we have in one of our data center. So there are several other pools of data that we process, but just to have a look of, in this pool we process more than 1 million hits in this period. In total per day, the number is way bigger, as I said, for all the other platforms and pools of servers and storages and network equipment. But the idea is that, when you look at this, the usual user would understand nothing. These are server logs. What do they mean? I actually presented this slide to my wife, and she said, I understand nothing from it. And it's important to understand this, that the data that we first have access to is really unstructured. And this is data that is accessible mostly to system administrators. But in the end, we need to make use of this information to actually guarantee a service level agreement to our customers. So, because nobody can stay and read this every minute and every day, we collect this information and then we start processing and looking for relevant information. Yeah, so that's basically how we go from unstructured to relevant information. And this is, general BI system elements that I suppose throughout the day, every presentation will unveil these layers. So I won't go deeper into them, but we follow, the same general workflow as any other company who implements BI systems. So now, few examples of relevant information that we're looking for in the same platform where we have collected that unstructured data. So we know that the events that we collect from our servers, have keywords into them. So fun failure, for example, can be an example. Critical temperature, or problems with storages, either lost connectivity to the storage, or there is problem in terms of accessing the storage per se. So these are just some examples. There are many, many relevant information that we are actually searching for. So in this layer of the platform, after we have collected the unstructured information, we're looking for such relevant keywords. Now, what's happening is that all this is part, of an entire infrastructure. And this is, the highlight, is the overview of the infrastructure that is running behind, the scenes. These are the actual servers where the applications like Elastic Search cluster and the Kafka cluster are running on top of. As you can see, and there is also another layer which is not presented here. This is the cluster for Romania, actually. There is a similar cluster also for UK. Everything is redundant in the infrastructure. So the Kafka, there are two nodes, and then the Elasticsearch is a cluster, and per the Elasticsearch documentation, to have a cluster, you need more than 2 nodes actually. So it's, we have these 3 nodes. And the advantage of hosting this on bare metal is the fact that we have a lot of flexibility, and every time we need more resources, we are able to scale up the storage, and we're able to add nodes by simple drag and drop actions and then just connect them to the big cluster. Yeah, so as I said, these are hosted on bare metal dedicated servers, which actually try to bring the best of both worlds, both the flexibility of the cloud and the reliability of the dedicated servers. Yeah, as I said before, we prefer to use this, even though we have virtualized solutions as well that we can provision this on top of, because the applications seem to be way more responsive, and the performance of them running on dedicated servers is way better than actually running everything on virtualized solutions. Now, let's get back to the ecosystem that I was discussing about. So yeah, it's good that we have collected all that unstructured information. It's good that we look for keywords, but what happens then? We just pull up a dashboard where you have the ability to visualize the data, or we actually start taking very clear actions that help our business, minimize that downtime that I discussed earlier about. And this is a print screen from our ticketing platform. So what happens is that, in Kibana, we've collected the information. With the help of Sentinel, we've looked for those keywords. And now what we're doing, we're automatically pushing notifications towards our ticketing system. And what happens behind the scenes here is that with the help of our 24/7 support that we have, the level 1, the level 2, and the level 3 teams that are behind it, as well as the networking teams, we're able to receive these notifications, and people jump right to the ticket, and then they look to see what's in there. So they troubleshoot to see if there is any component that needs to be replaced, or if there needs to be an instant switch for the customers. We have the ability to easily switch a customer from one instance that has a hardware failure to another one in just a matter of minutes. So if, for example, we see there the replacement of a component in a server can take a while, we are not waiting for that to happen. We just replace the instance for the server, for the customer, and we make sure that the time that that customer spent offline is minimal this way. So all this has an entire escalation workflow behind the scenes that is configured through the help of this ticketing system that brings up the right people that can make the right checks, and we make sure that we minimize that downtime when is the case. Of course, false positives are also part of the scheme, and sometimes we realize that there is nothing that needs to be done, but what we're making sure is that that information is manually checked by somebody. And when needed, of course, we also notify our customers so that they know what happened. We let them know that there was minimum downtime, and this is what we did. And these are the checks that we made for them after we put the system back online. And we try to see if there are any other issues that they need our help with. Now, this helps us actually get to solve a problem for the customer before actually them noticing it. These are actually most of the situations. Due to this ecosystem that we have in place, we don't need to find out about the problems on our hardware layer from the customers. Hey, what's happening? My website is down, or what's happening? I don't receive emails, or whatever the customers are hosting on those servers. Hey, what's happening? My BI platform is not working anymore. We actually go to them and let them know what happened, how long that system was offline, and that everything is solved already. Especially when it's happening overnight, it's very, very helpful for our customers to wake up in the morning and to know that there was a minimum downtime and that was solved by us. So it's like a worry-free, relationship that they know that they can rely on us. Now, something else that we realized after a while is that it's good to have this, but we wanted to do one step further. So in time, we've created another BI pool from all the tickets, and in particular, because today we spoke about these hardware alerts that we're getting from our hardware, I'm going to focus only on these ones. There are several categories of data that we process, but we realize that we need to constantly understand what we can actually improve, and if there are some repetitive actions, some repetitive issues, we need to get to the bottom of them and actually fix that root cause to minimize those alerts in the future, and to minimize those downtime windows in the future. So what we do is we've created this other pool of data, and we try to minimize this number of alerts, but by proactively making maintenance operations on our hardware, software upgrades, firmware upgrades, and as you can see, at least for this 12-month series, the trends are going down. And of course, from these numbers, as I said earlier, many of them are also false positives. But in the end, what matters is for us to be able to understand what we can improve on a continuous basis. Yeah, so the ecosystem that I've described today, it's about collecting those unstructured hardware logs. As mentioned, there are many other pools of information that we collect, but I focus today only on these ones, hardware logs from servers. And then we try to identify the relevant information that can tell us about different components and different behaviors of the server that can actually lead to a downtime or actually is creating already a downtime. Then alerting our technical support teams. They jump right in and they solve the problem for the customer to minimize that downtime. And then we proactively notify our customers. And last but not least, we analyze the trends for continuous improvement to make sure that not only we have solved the problem, but we try to stop that problem from repeating itself. And basically, you know, that's the ecosystem and the formula of tools and platforms that we've put together in order to guarantee this uptime. And yeah, as I said, it's very hard to have 100% uptime, but you know, we try to get as close to that. But even for doing that, we need to have such ecosystems in place. We need to have such platforms that interconnect with each other and they constantly collect information. And with the right workflows, the right people get to take the measures that are needed to help our customers. That's the presentation. If there are any questions right now, I think we will find out.
Right, thanks.
Oh, thanks as well.
Yeah, one question is if you only supply bare metal solutions, so you also have virtualization solutions.
Yes, we do have, but today it was not about, you know, really selling our, you know, services. It was about actually focusing on what's the platform behind this entire BI ecosystem. And here is bare metal dedicated servers, but in reality, yes, we offer virtualized solutions as well as a company.
So do you also treat the problem of infrastructure as a service?
Sorry?
Do you also treat the problem of infrastructure as a service with more automations based on all those data points you're collecting?
Yes, we can do that, yes. Depending on the needs of the customers and you know, how big their infrastructure is, we can help them scale up or scale down and have a mix and max between, you know, the services that we offer.
Thanks.
Thanks as well.
Actually, we're approaching our first network break. It's until 12, so we've got a few spare minutes. Go grab a coffee, get a bite to eat, and if you're still hungry for more, I would remind you about our expo area, where you can look at white papers. We have quizzes and lots of fun games for you prepared by our partners. And also, when you come back, remember to switch to the next session in the live session tab. See you back at 12.